Robert Chen stood under a black umbrella, staring at the small white coffin being lowered into the ground. His 16-year-old daughter Sarah was gone. And nothing, not his millions, not his success, not his power, could bring her back. But then he saw something that made him freeze. A woman was walking toward them through the rain. No umbrella. No coat. Just torn clothes, worn shoes, and a handful of wilted flowers clutched to her chest. She was homeless. And she was crying. Security moved to stop her, but Robert raised his hand. Because something about this woman's face, the pure devastation in her eyes, made him need to know. Who was she? And why had she walked through a storm to be at his daughter's funeral? What Robert discovered in the next 30 minutes would shatter everything he thought he knew about his daughter, and about himself. This is a true story. And before we begin, please hit that like button and subscribe to Black Tales Every Day. Drop a comment telling us where you're watching from. We read every single one. Now, let's go back to where it all started. 2 weeks before the funeral. When Robert Chen still had a daughter. And no idea how much he was about to lose. Robert Chen had everything. At 42 years old, he was the founder and CEO of Tech Vision Solutions, a software company worth $300 million. He lived in a mansion in Pacific Heights, San Francisco. He drove a Tesla. He wore Armani suits. His daughter Sarah attended the most expensive private school in the city. On paper, Robert Chen was living the American dream. But here's what the paper didn't show. Robert worked 90 hours a week. He missed Sarah's 16th birthday because of a board meeting in New York. He missed her school play because of a conference in Tokyo. He missed her junior year parent-teacher conferences because of a deal closing in London. "Dad, can we have dinner together tonight?" Sarah would ask. "Not tonight, sweetheart. Daddy has a client call. But this weekend, I promise." The weekend never came. There was always another meeting. Another deal. Another reason why later was better than now. Robert's wife Michelle had left them 3 years earlier. She couldn't handle the loneliness of being married to a man who loved his company more than his family. She'd remarried and moved to Boston. She called Sarah once a month. Maybe. So it was just Robert and Sarah. Except it wasn't really. Because Robert was never there. Sarah was raised by nannies and drivers and tutors and housekeepers. She had everything money could buy. Designer clothes. The latest iPhone. A BMW for her 16th birthday that she'd only driven twice before. Before the accident. It happened on a Tuesday night. February 14th. Valentine's Day. Sarah was driving home from volunteering at a homeless shelter downtown. Robert didn't even know she volunteered there. He didn't know much about Sarah's life at all, if he was honest. A drunk driver ran a red light. Sarah died instantly. Robert got the call at 9:47 p.m. He was in a business dinner. He'd ignored 3 calls from Sarah earlier that day because he was too busy. Those 3 missed calls would haunt him forever. At the hospital, they gave him a plastic bag with Sarah's belongings. Her phone. Her wallet. A journal he'd never seen before. And a piece of paper with an address written on it, 1847, Mission Street. The homeless shelter. Robert didn't understand. Why was his daughter spending time at a homeless shelter? He was about to find out. But first, he had to bury her. The funeral was held at Woodlawn Cemetery, the most exclusive cemetery in San Francisco. Robert had bought a plot in the area reserved for wealthy families. Even in death, he wanted the best for his daughter. 300 people attended. Business associates. Sarah's classmates from her private school. Teachers. Robert's employees. People who barely knew Sarah but came because Robert Chen was important. The service was expensive. Beautiful. Perfect. And completely empty. Because none of these people knew Sarah. Not really. Not the way a daughter should be known. Robert stood at the front, unable to give a eulogy. What would he say? That he loved her. He did. But had he shown it? Had he been there? Had he known her favorite color, her dreams, her fears, her passions? He didn't even know she volunteered at a homeless shelter. The rain started during the burial. Heavy, cold February rain that matched the darkness in Robert's soul. People began opening umbrellas. Some left early, not wanting to get wet. Because that's what mattered to them. Staying dry. Staying comfortable. And that's when Robert saw her. A woman walking through the cemetery. No umbrella. Soaking wet. Walking slowly but deliberately toward Sarah's grave. She was thin, too thin. Her clothes were torn and dirty. Her hair was tangled and wet. Her shoes had holes in them. She carried a small bundle of flowers, cheap carnations from a grocery store, wilted from the rain. She was clearly homeless. "Sir, should I handle this?" Robert's head of security whispered, moving to intercept her. "No," Robert said quietly. "Let her through." The woman approached the grave slowly. She stood at the back of the crowd, not wanting to intrude. Tears mixed with rain on her face. When it was her turn to approach the casket, she placed her wilted flowers on top. Her hands were shaking. She leaned close and whispered something Robert couldn't hear. Then she kissed her fingers and touched them to the casket. She turned to leave. "Wait," Robert called out. The woman froze. She looked terrified, like she'd done something wrong. Like she didn't belong. "How did you know my daughter?" Robert asked. The woman's eyes filled with tears. She saved my life, sir." Robert felt his heart stop. "What? Your daughter Sarah? She saved my life. I walked 20 miles in the rain to be here today because if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be alive to make the walk." Everyone was staring now. The wealthy funeral guests looking at this homeless woman like she was an intruder. An embarrassment. But Robert didn't care what they thought. "Tell me," he said. "Please. Tell me everything." The woman's name was Grace Mitchell. She was 43 years old. And 1 year ago, she'd been standing on the Golden Gate Bridge, ready to jump. "I'd lost everything," Grace told Robert, her voice shaking. "My husband left me. I lost my job. Then I lost my apartment. I ended up on the streets with nothing. No family. No friends. No hope. I decided to end it. I walked to the bridge on a Tuesday afternoon. I was going to jump. I'd already climbed over the railing when I heard a voice. 'Wait. Please wait.' I turned around and saw a teenage girl. She was wearing a school uniform. Carrying a backpack. She looked terrified but determined. 'Please don't jump,' the girl said. 'Please. I don't know what you're going through, but please, let me sit with you for a minute.' Grace's voice broke. 'That girl was your daughter, Mr. Chen. That was Sarah.' Robert felt his knees go weak. Sarah had never told him this story. 'She climbed over the railing and sat next to me,' Grace continued. 'For 3 hours, we sat on that bridge. She didn't lecture me. She didn't judge me. She just listened. She asked about my life. She cared about my story. She told me about losing her mother. About feeling alone even though she had everything. She said, money doesn't fix loneliness. But people can. And you're not alone anymore. You have me.' When it got dark, she helped me climb back over the railing. She took me to a diner and bought me food, the first real meal I'd had in days. She gave me $200 from her own wallet. But more than that, she gave me her phone number. 'Call me,' she said. 'Anytime. Day or night. You're not alone anymore, Grace.'" Robert was crying now. Hard. This didn't sound like his daughter. This sounded like a stranger. Because he'd never given Sarah the chance to tell him who she really was. "But that wasn't the end," Grace said. "That was just the beginning." For the next year, Sarah visited Grace every single week. Every Tuesday afternoon, after school, instead of going home to their empty mansion, Sarah would take the bus downtown to the homeless shelter where Grace stayed. She brought food, clothes, books. But most importantly, she brought her time. "She taught me to read," Grace said, her voice filled with wonder. I dropped out of school in 8th grade. I could barely read. Sarah spent months teaching me. We'd sit in the shelter library, and she'd work with me for hours. She helped me apply for jobs. She printed out my resume at her school. She practiced interview questions with me. When I got a job at a grocery store stocking shelves, she was more excited than I was. She helped me get into a recovery program. I'd been drinking to cope with being homeless. Sarah researched programs, made phone calls, even came with me to my first AA meeting. Robert listened in shock. His daughter had done all of this. His daughter, who he'd thought spent her afternoons shopping or hanging out with friends, had been saving someone's life. She never told you? Grace asked, seeing Robert's face. No, Robert whispered. She never said a word. Grace smiled sadly. She said you were busy. That you worked really hard to give her a good life. She didn't want to bother you with small stuff. Small stuff. Saving a woman's life was small stuff to Sarah because she thought her father was too busy to care. Robert felt like someone had driven a knife through his heart. But there's more you should know, Grace said. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a small notebook. Sarah gave me this journal. She said I should write in it. Track my progress. Stay motivated. She opened it to a page near the back. But she also wrote in it. Look. Robert took the journal with shaking hands. There, in Sarah's handwriting, were entries he'd never seen. March 15th, Grace has been sober for 30 days. So proud of her. She's stronger than she knows. April 2nd, Grace got the job. She cried. I cried. Sometimes the best moments are the simple ones. May 10th, taught Grace how to use email today. She sent her first email ever, to me. Subject line, thank you for seeing me. I'll never delete it. June 22nd, Grace asked me why I care so much about helping people. I told her, my dad taught me to work hard. But I want to work hard at making people feel like they matter. That's success to me. Robert's tears fell onto the page, smudging the ink. His daughter had learned to care about people not because of him, but in spite of him. The rain was pouring harder now. The other funeral guests had left. It was just Robert, Grace, and a few cemetery workers waiting to finish the burial. She talked about you all the time, Grace said softly. She loved you so much, Mr. Chen. Then why didn't she tell me about you? About any of this? Grace looked uncomfortable. She tried to. Once. What? About 6 months ago. She came to visit me, and she was upset. She said she tried to tell you about her volunteering. About me. About what she was learning from helping at the shelter. She said you told her, that's nice, honey, and went back to your laptop. You were on a conference call. Robert remembered that day. He remembered Sarah trying to talk to him. He remembered being annoyed at the interruption. She cried that day, Grace continued. She said, I just wanted him to be proud of me for something other than my grades. I wanted him to see me. Really see me. I told her you loved her. She said, I know he loves me. But does he know me? The question hung in the air like an accusation. Did he know her? His own daughter? No. He didn't. He knew her GPA. He knew her SAT scores. He knew she got into Stanford early admission. He knew the surface things. But he didn't know her heart. He didn't know her dreams. He didn't know she spent every Tuesday saving someone's life. Grace, Robert said, his voice breaking. The night Sarah died, she'd been at the shelter, hadn't she? Grace nodded, fresh tears falling. Yes. It was Valentine's Day. She brought heart-shaped cookies for everyone. She stayed late because one of the women there was having a breakdown. Sarah stayed with her for 3 hours until she calmed down. That's why she was driving home so late. That's why she was on that road when Grace couldn't finish. She didn't have to. Sarah had died doing what she loved. Helping people. Being there for someone who needed her. While Robert had been at a business dinner, discussing quarterly profits. I'm so sorry, Grace whispered. If she hadn't stayed late because of us. No. Robert's voice was firm. Don't you dare apologize. My daughter died being a better person than I've ever been. She died making someone's life better. She died matching. He looked at Sarah's casket, water streaming down its white surface. I gave her everything except what she actually needed. I gave her money and things and opportunities. But I never gave her my time. I never gave her me. She knew you loved her, Grace insisted. But she didn't know she was more important than my company. She didn't know she was more important than my meetings and my deals and my success. Because I never showed her. Robert fell to his knees in the mud beside his daughter's grave, not caring about his expensive suit, not caring who saw him, not caring about anything except the crushing weight of his failure. I'm so sorry, baby girl, he sobbed. I'm so sorry. Grace knelt beside him in the rain and held him while he cried. This homeless woman, this stranger his daughter had saved, showed him more compassion in that moment than he'd shown his own daughter in 16 years. They sat in the rain for a long time. Eventually, the cemetery workers approached respectfully, needing to complete the burial. Robert stood up slowly. He looked at Grace, this woman who'd walked 20 miles in the rain to honor his daughter. Grace, where are you staying now? I got a room at a transitional housing program. It's not much, but it's a roof. Thanks to Sarah, I've been sober 8 months. I've been working at the grocery store for 6 months. I'm rebuilding. Because of my daughter. Because of your daughter, Grace agreed. She gave me a reason to keep living. She made me feel like I mattered. Robert made a decision in that moment. A decision that would change everything. Grace, I need your help. My help? Mr. Chen, I don't have anything to. You have everything I need, Robert interrupted. You knew my daughter better than I did. You saw who she really was. And I need to honor that. I need to finish what she started. What do you mean? Robert pulled out his phone. Made a call. David? It's Robert. I need you to prepare a foundation charter. Name it the Sarah Chen Foundation. Purpose, supporting homeless individuals with job training, addiction recovery, and housing assistance. Initial funding, $50 million. I'll sign the papers tomorrow. He hung up and looked at Grace. I want you to help me run it. Grace's eyes went wide. Mr. Chen, I'm homeless. I'm a recovering alcoholic. I stock shelves at a grocery store. I'm not qualified to. You're perfectly qualified. You've been where these people are. You know what they need. Sarah trusted you. And now I'm trusting you. I don't know what to say. Say yes. Say you'll help me continue my daughter's work. Say you'll help me become the kind of person she believed I could be. Grace started crying again. She'd be so proud of you right now. I hope so. Because I spent 16 years making her proud of my success. I want to spend the rest of my life making her proud of my character. Robert looked back at his daughter's grave one last time. The rain was finally starting to slow. I can't bring you back, baby girl, he whispered. But I can make sure your life meant something. I can make sure the way you loved people, the way you saw them, really saw them, continues. I promise you that. The cemetery workers began their work, lowering Sarah into the ground. Robert put his arm around Grace's shoulders, this woman who'd been a stranger an hour ago but was now the closest connection he had to his daughter's real life. Tell me everything, he said. Tell me every story about Sarah. Every conversation. Every moment. I want to know my daughter. Finally. Really know her. And Grace did. They walked through the cemetery in the fading rain, and Grace told Robert about his daughter, the real Sarah, not the one he'd seen at breakfast before rushing to work, but the one who changed lives every Tuesday afternoon. 1 year after Sarah's funeral, Robert Chen stood at his daughter's grave again. But this time, he wasn't alone. Grace was there, clean and sober for 20 months now. She'd gained healthy weight. Her hair was cut and styled. She wore professional clothes. She was the director of outreach for the Sarah Chen Foundation. Next to her was Marcus, a former homeless veteran the foundation had helped get into housing and job training. He was now the foundation's peer support coordinator. Next to him was Linda, a single mother the foundation had helped get clean and find work. She was now a case manager. All around Robert were people whose lives had been changed by the foundation. By Sarah's legacy. She'd love this, Grace said softly, placing flowers on Sarah's grave. She'd love that we're all together. Tell me again about the Tuesday she taught you to read, Robert said. It had become a ritual. Every time they visited Sarah's grave, Robert asked Grace to tell him a story. He was building a picture of his daughter, piece by piece, story by story. Grace smiled. We were reading The Giving Tree. It took me an hour to get through it. I was so frustrated I wanted to quit. But Sarah said, Grace, this tree gave everything because love isn't about keeping score. It's about giving everything you have because someone matters to you. Grace paused. Then she said, that's how my dad loves me. He gives everything. He just gives it in a different way than I wish he would. But I know he loves me. Robert's eyes filled with tears. She really said that? She really did. She understood you better than you think. She just wished you'd slow down enough to understand her too. I do now. Too late, but I do. It's not too late, Grace said firmly. The foundation has helped over 300 people this year. 300 people who have jobs, homes, hope, because of Sarah. Because of you. That's not too late. That's Sarah's life echoing forward. Robert smiled through his tears. She'd hate that I'm crying again. No, Grace laughed. She'd love it. She told me once, I wish my dad would cry more. I think he feels too much and shows too little. I want him to know it's okay to be human. She was wiser than I'll ever be. She was. But she learned strength from you. She just chose to use it differently. They stood together in comfortable silence. This group of people who'd all been saved by a 16-year-old girl who believed everyone deserved to be seen. Marcus spoke up. Mr. Chen, we have the ribbon cutting for the new housing facility next week. 20 units. All for families transitioning out of homelessness. All because Sarah Mitchell mattered to someone who mattered to someone who mattered to you. Sarah Chen, Robert corrected gently. What? Her name was Sarah Chen. I need to hear her name. I didn't say it enough when she was alive. Sarah Chen, Marcus repeated. Sarah Chen who saved my life by giving me a chance when I'd given up on myself. Sarah Chen, Linda added. Who taught me my kids deserved a mom who was present, not perfect. Sarah Chen, Grace finished. Who taught her father that success isn't measured in dollars, it's measured in lives touched. Robert looked at all of them. His daughter's legacy, standing around him. Next Tuesday, he said quietly, it'll be exactly 1 year since Sarah's last Tuesday at the shelter. I want to be there. I want to volunteer. I want to do what she did. Grace smiled. She'd love that. Will you teach me? The way she taught you? I'd be honored. Every Tuesday for the rest of his life, Robert Chen left his office at 2 p.m. and went to the shelter. He served meals. He listened to stories. He learned people's names. He saw them. Really saw them. The way his daughter had. His company didn't collapse. In fact, it grew. Because Robert learned something Sarah had tried to teach him, when you care about people, they care about your success. His employees loved him more. His clients respected him more. His life had more meaning. But more importantly, Robert learned what Sarah had known all along. Success isn't what you build. It's who you build up. Legacy isn't what you leave behind in bank accounts. It's what you leave behind in hearts. And love isn't measured in the things you buy for people. It's measured in the time you give them. 3 years after Sarah's death, the Sarah Chen Foundation had helped over 1,000 people get back on their feet. Grace had gone back to school and earned her GED, then started college. She wanted to be a social worker. Sarah would be so proud of you, Robert told her at her graduation. She'd be proud of you too, Grace replied. You finally slowed down enough to see what matters. I just wish I'd done it when she was alive. So love the people who are still here. That's what she'd want. And Robert did. He never missed another Tuesday. He knew the name of every person at the shelter. He showed up. He was present. He was there. Because Sarah had taught him, though he'd learned the lesson too late, that the most valuable thing you can give someone isn't money. It's attention. It's time. It's seeing them as worthy of your presence. On the 5th anniversary of Sarah's death, Robert visited her grave with an envelope. Inside was a letter he'd written but would never send. Dear Sarah, I finally understand what you were trying to show me. Success isn't a dollar amount. It's not a title or a company or a house. Success is grace, sober and working as a counselor, helping others the way you helped her. Success is Marcus, housed and stable, mentoring other veterans. Success is the 1,847 people whose lives are different because you cared. And success is your father, finally understanding that you were right all along. I love you, baby girl. And I finally know you. I wish I'd known you sooner. But I promise, I'll spend the rest of my life making sure everyone knows you. Love, Dad. He buried the letter next to her grave, under fresh flowers. And then he went to the shelter for his Tuesday shift. Because that's what Sarah would have done. And that's what love looks like when you finally understand it. This story was sent to us by Robert Chen himself. He wanted us to share it with you because he said, maybe if I can stop one parent from making my mistake, Sarah's death will save another family. Robert is now 64 years old. The Sarah Chen Foundation has helped over 5,000 people in the past 20 years. Grace retired last year after 15 years as the foundation's director. She's now writing a book about Sarah's impact. Robert never remarried. He said, I had my chance at family, and I let work come first. Now my family is everyone Sarah taught me to love. Every Tuesday, he's still at the shelter. He'll be there until the day he dies. Because Sarah taught him that time is the only thing you can give that actually costs you something. And the people who matter deserve your most expensive gift. Before you close this video, we want you to do something. Think of someone in your life who gives you their time. Their attention. Their presence. Maybe it's a parent who shows up to everything. Maybe it's a friend who always answers your calls. Maybe it's a teacher who stays late to help you. Maybe it's a partner who listens when you talk. Now, when's the last time you thanked them? When's the last time you told them they matter? When's the last time you gave them your time? Don't make Robert's mistake. Don't wait until it's too late to see the people who've been seeing you all along. Put down your phone after this video and call someone. Text someone. Tell them they matter. Do it now. Before later becomes never. If this story touched you, please like this video and subscribe to Black Tales every day. Share it with someone who needs this message. And drop a comment telling us, who will you thank today? Until next time, dear viewers, see the people around you. Really see them. Because that's what love looks like.